also eventually, after all of those activities, we will have to conduct the pilot census in December. Remember, we want to do the census itself, the counting or the taking in December 2026. So December 2025 is the exact month that makes it 1 year. And we believe it gives us the same conditions that we'll be counting in December 2026. So this activity is expected to be completed this year, and we are on track. The resources that will require relating to the IT infrastructure and all other paraphernalia, except the cash or the funding, are all ready. And now, once we finalize the instruments, I think we are in a very good stead to proceed. I also want to share with you a little bit on the IT and data science infrastructure. Remember, we've said it time and again that this census is a fully digital census. And therefore, you will expect that the IT will really form the spine of our endeavors. And to update you, I want to let you know that we have not only purchased the iCloud and other IT network infrastructure, we have actually deployed them. And we've tested some of them, and we are now ready to use them at a very large scale. Some of the software and equipment are listed below. As you can see, the Esri environment, the GeoApp platform and dashboards, the database and API configuration. This, I think, is complete now. And we've also been able to confirm the domain name. But more importantly, we've been able to provision tablets and also deploy the satellite imaging and to see to what extent it works for us efficiently. So on the IT side, we are also ready to commence the main cartographic exercise with their support, and we're also ready to proceed along with the pilot census activities as they come along. So infrastructure-wise, IT-wise, we are set. On the communication and publicity front, I want to inform you that since the inception of this census, we have been doing publicity and communication activities. We've executed many of them, and we always time them with the activities. When we are about, for instance, when we are about commencing the pilot cartography exercise, we had the publicity team go around in those specific EAs or localities to explain to them what we are about to do. You will also recall that when we postponed census, we had a lot of media and publicity activities which were done. So the publicity and communications wing have actually been working in tandem with the MOISI to ensure people understand what the census is about, and also to clarify any kinds of misconceptions or maybe resistance that may ensue. So very recently, we held a message development workshop. This particular workshop was a 2-day workshop, and it was meant to finalize the strategy for the communications and PR for 2026 population and housing census, and also to develop messages. We will agree that it is good that StarterCell has standard messages that will roll out so that we will not have misconceptions. And so during this workshop, we are able to develop some messages and slogans, and even the logo for 2026 population and housing census. So the message and development workshop report has also been produced, and we've commenced implementing the plans in the strategy. Our next step is to work with the community stakeholders to sensitize them on the cartographic mapping that is about to commence, and also the pilot census. We want to make sure that this is not a one-off activity, but it's a constant activity of relating with stakeholders at the local level. Until we achieve that, there will always be misconceptions and people may be misled. So the IT will always be the forerunner, or the Habinga, if you like, of all our activities which we are about to undertake. You want to say something? Permit me to proceed also with the procurement and logistics aspects of the census. At the commencement of the census, we developed a full procurement plan and strategy, and this was shared with the Ministry of Finance, our supervising ministry, and also the NPPA, the National Public Procurement Authority. They reviewed our documents, and they were happy to let us proceed with the procurement of the following items. We have been able to secure Starlink equipment, about 21 of them. We have been able to procure and deploy the Geo app, the Esri environment, iCloud servers, tablets and power banks, the private APN, that's data, the data SIMs, the mobile device management tools, that's the MDM, laptops, desktops and their associated accessories, and motorbikes and vehicles. So all of these procurements have been concluded, and we've had approval from the NPPA and from the Ministry of Finance to proceed. We have also even commenced the receipt of most of these items, so they can go back. The Starlink, for example, we've received everything in full, and by the start of next week, we'll have to deploy, by the end of this week, we will have deployed everything in the districts. The Geo app, of course, the license we've received and it has been deployed. The Esri environment, long since it has been procured and deployed. And of course, the iCloud servers, these are all things we have receipt of, we've received what we paid for. The same with the mobile device management tools, the tablets also, and the satellite imaging. The vehicles, the tablets, and the power banks are coming as per schedule. They are being delivered as per schedule. Not all the vehicles are with us yet. Not all the tablets and power banks are with us yet. But this is because we timed the delivery. The main census is next year, 2026. And they have to produce this tablet. So we have to give them a long period of time to procure and to do their logistical arrangement. So what we need for the cartographic mapping and the pilot census, we already have in-house. And it's the same set of tablets, same equipment that we'll use for the main census itself. To proceed, we cannot undertake this monumental activity or project without coordination or alone. So we have been meeting on a fortnightly basis with UNFPA for us to manage the census activities. We have also been holding regular secretariat meetings amongst ourselves in our office. We've had a meeting with ECA on the technical assistance plan. And we have recruited, this is another significant milestone, we have recruited and orientated, if I could say, 16 DCOs as district census officers, and 3 RPOs, that's regional publicity officers. They have started work effective yesterday. As at yesterday, we had a day's meeting with them, explained to them what their roles are, the terms and conditions, and we solicited their support way beyond what we want to offer in exchange for the amount we pay them. We believe this is a national exercise and we will have to sacrifice more. We cannot pay for every bit of their efforts. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen, we have been meeting with partner institutions more for advocacy and also for funding. Very recently, we met with the British High Commission to advocate for technical and financial support. We are yet to hear from them. The Ireland Embassy of Ireland promised us some funds for the census, and we have already developed a detailed budget and submitted to them for remittance of their funds. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to share with you something that you know, that you already know, or that you may be familiar with, which is the timeline. This was presented almost since the first day we met here as technical committee members, and we continue to present them. I will not go through them because you've had a lot of explanations of them, but I want to assure you that our activities are on track and government is supporting us hugely, very huge support. We must thank them for their support and commitment to the census. So currently, this is government's commitment, and then this is what donors have pledged. You can see that the burden really is government, and we cannot wait any longer. Now we've started the work. We are now in a kind of season or in a kind of period that we cannot afford anymore to delay or to stop the project. So that is why we keep informing government to see how best we can squeeze from the meager resources we have to send to Statistics Sierra Leone to support the census process. Because if they don't, I haven't seen another person supporting it. But actually to praise them or to give them their flowers, they've been doing very well, extremely well. For a national exercise of this size, the government has been pushing and they've been supporting us all through and through. So we are ready to go to the field for the cartographic mapping. We're working on the pilot census. The IT infrastructure is already set. The admin machinery for the districts, which are the DCOs, have already been put in place. The publicity is in full swing, and I don't think we have limitations, especially when we have the support of Moise. In conclusion, therefore, like I said, we are on track. We're ready for the cartographic mapping just next week. If I did not been for this meeting, we would have started the cartographic mapping training this week. But because we thought we cannot go without talking to you or seeking your blessing, that's why we've postponed it by just a couple of days. So come Monday, the regional trainings will start in earnest. And we'll continue because the system is already in place. We have, like I mentioned just now, the requisite equipment and software necessary for the cartographic mapping. And the DCOs and RPs are now in position, are now in post. I want to end by saying we count on your support to ensure a successful and credible national census. Don't forget, you are not outsiders to this process. You are the very technical arm on which will depend for the technical input on the population and census. So we are in this together, and we are always desirous of bringing you on board. We also want to solicit your support to always come like you've been doing. Most often, even today, we have full house, but to also participate meaningfully to the process. If you cannot, for want of whatsoever reason, you don't want to say something publicly, you can probably also meet us bilaterally about the population and housing census. So let me thank you for your support, and I also want to wish you fruitful deliberations. My SG, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Deputy Statistician General of Statistics Sierra Leone, Mr. Lansana Kwewolokane, for that update. We're moving ahead. We want to have the next presentation. Can we turn the lights on? Well, we're having another presentation, so we'll probably do that. The next update on the pilot cartographic mapping report and the plans for the national cartographic mapping, which we are starting. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce somebody that was recruited for the conduct of the census. By UNFPA, and that is the cartographic consultant, Madam Dr. Fuluke Adebayo, to come and make the presentation. Can we give her a round of applause? This is somebody who has worked tirelessly with us on the census. For the cameras, we have to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here once again and to appreciate the management of Sierra Leone Statistics Office as well as UNFPA, who has given me this privilege and opportunity to actually be the cartography and GIS consultant for the first census, the 2030 round of census in Africa. And I'm presenting today the visualizing the progress, the challenges, and the lessons that you have learned from the pilot mapping. I'm going to be introducing this presentation by quoting the Statistician General when he was introducing the pilot mapping. That's the 2026 Population and Housing Census in Sierra Leone, scheduled for December 2026, will rely highly on a robust and technological advanced census mapping process to ensure comprehensive and accurate coverage of the entire country. And as a foundational component of the census planning, a pilot mapping exercise was therefore conducted between 6th of June and 4th of July 2025 to test and validate the methodology tools, technologies and operational procedures in preparation for full national mapping rollout. The pilot exercise covered 4 strategically selected locations across the country. We have Kisiteng in Kailam, we have Mara in Bombali, Dima in Bont, and East 2 in Western Urban. This represents diverse geographic and demographic settings within the country, and this includes looking at how are we going to conduct census in the urban slums, remote communities, peri-urban centers, and disputed boundary areas of the country. The objectives of the pilot mapping was 1, to test the tools and procedures that we are going to use for the actual national mapping, to validate the EA delineation methodology. We need to test the functionality of our field data collection tools, the tablets, the EAD pad, which is the GeoPad, which is the application for field data collection. We need to also look at the integration and performance of all ArcGIS software, and the SIMT, which is the ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online, and to know how this data pipeline will look at by the time we are processing the data. We also look at the field tools, the questionnaires, the data collection questionnaire. How do they sit well on the GeoPad? We look at the base map, the satellite imagery, and the administrative boundaries, and also need to look at the field team structure. Are we actually putting it together? Will it be able to achieve what we wanted it to achieve? And with that, I just want to take you through the pilot locations. We have Mara Chibdom in Bombali district, which is to test the peri-urban centers. And for this area, we had 5 team members allocated to this area. In Kailam, we chose Kisiteng Chibdom, where we have boundary with adjoining countries, to look at a disputed area, a sample. And here, because this is the largest area we had for the pilot mapping sample, we put 17 team members. And then in Bont district, to test the challenge area, the remote hard to reach and accessibility challenge area, and that is in Bont. We chose them at Chibdom, and here we have our 13 team members. And then the section, we chose our area in the Western Urban to look at the urban slum and accessibility challenge area, because we just chose a small section, a small area of the section to test this exercise. We have 3 member team allocated to this area. And for the methodology, I'm just going to take us step by step through the methodology that we used. Pre-field activities, we trained mappers, supervisors, and data entry officers. We had hands-on field practical exercise to make sure that they actually understand the procedure and the use of the tools that we are going to use on the field. We also had locality validation by paramount rulers, wherein we put all the localities in this area together, and we invited the paramount rulers to be part of the opening ceremony of the training. They look at the locality, they made corrections, they made additions where necessary, and then community entrance and engagement by field supervisors and mappers. We know that you cannot go into all the localities without talking to the stakeholders who are the gatekeepers of the locality. And we have community sensitization by the public affairs the departments. They went, and these are some of the photographs of the community engagement process, which was taken by the public affairs departments. Then the data collection tools, the CAPI, which is the tablet, that's computer-assisted personal interview platform, which we use the tablets. And then the GeoPad, that's the application for the data collection, and for this particular one for Sierra Leone, we are using EAD pad. We have 3 questionnaires. There's a building and household listing questionnaire, and then we have a questionnaire especially for special population, that is the roving population, the mobile population, people who are homeless, who are not having the regular settlement pattern. And then we have another questionnaire for locality and available infrastructure, which is being administered by the supervisors, and it is for every locality. You want to know the locality the locality location, and also the available infrastructure in the locality. Data processing tools, we have the ArcGIS Online and the ArcGIS Pro, which are products that were purchased by Sierra Leone Stars XL for data processing. And for the EAD delineation, we use the EAD part data, and I'm just highlighting here for us the data capture workflow. There is the online, that the image there is not loading, maybe because of the internet. Data capture workflow, online-based map loading, right from where the mappers are taking off. We encourage them to make sure that they load their base map because of internet access, and then they go to the field to capture the data offline. And after capturing data for a locality, finishing an enumeration area, they will export the data locally to their tablets and to the cloud, which is the ArcGIS Online. And for data processing, we use the X-ray ArcGIS, like I said earlier. The workflow is that when data is downloaded, is uploaded to the ArcGIS Online, they download to their desktop using the desktop application, which is ArcGIS Professional, and then they do on-screen digitizing, and then append the attributes which the mappers have collected on the field to all the data sets collected. Then we do data cleaning. We now code the EAs and group them into SA, and also code the locality as well. And then we have it as the deliverable, the EA frame, and the tables are generated for the entire exercise. And also now for this exercise, for the field monitoring, I'm starting with the Census Technical Committee monitoring. 4 observers were selected from this group, and they went to the field. They were able to visit 3 of the focal points, and we had 14 responses. And then the observation period was between June 26 and 27. Let me try to see if I can go to this. Okay. So this is the observers. We have 4 observers: Matilda Kabia, Matthew Tambagboko, Dr. Gina Samuel Momo, and Michael Kefala. They were on the field as observers from this group, and they had online forms which they fill. And after filling the forms, we had data uploaded directly to the Google Drive that the forms were attached to, and then we were able to process the data from the field. So here we have what they were able to observe. Like I said, 3 focal points was visited, which are Kisiteng, Istri, and Dema. But there was no observation by the Census Technical Committee of in Bombali. That's why from there we didn't have 100% coverage from the Census Technical Committee, but we were able to also look at what the advisory committee did, because they also visited 2 areas, which gives us an independent observation of the entire area by both the Census Technical Committee and then the advisory board. So this is the coverage, and this is the observation that was made by the Census Technical Committee. We had 11 checklists to cover the field operations. There's observation on EA boundary delineation accuracy. They look at the tablets, they look at what the mappers have collected, and they ask them questions to be able to be sure that the EA boundary delineation was actually accurate. And for these, we had 100% responses from the observation that says yes. Compliance with EA coding scheme, that is because the mappers on the field will do a temporary EA coding. And for every mapper, there's the number of the code of the mapper is attached to the EA that they are delineating, so that you can have a unique ID for all the EAs that are delineated on the field. And for this also we had 100%. The use of the base map, that is the satellite imagery, also scored 100%. Locality validation scored 100%, that are the mappers sure of the locality where they are working at that particular time, because they went with locality lists for the entire area where they are going to work, and so they first identify the locality before they start working, and all these localities have also been stored, preloaded on their tablets. Handling of special areas 100%. Data synchronization and saving practices at 64%. There were failures in some areas, and by the time we look at the challenges, we're able to know why we had such failures. Correct use of equipment, that is the EAD part. The mappers today have a clear understanding of how to use the tools. There was we scored 100%. Accurate mapping of structures, 64%. Field to map alignments, that is, are they actually in the area where they are mapping? Does it tally with what the maps they have on their tools? Does it tally with what is on ground with this 100%? Accurate mapping of structures, that is, identifying the right structure and mapping the right attribute to the right structure, we had 71%. Identification of important features, which we call places of interest, 78%. So in overall operational observation, the pilot's mapping scored 88.8%. And this we can see in the charts. The overall percentage is in green, and the percentage for each of the other scores of the checklist are in red. Then we have field monitoring by the Census Advisory Board. We have 5 people from the advisory board visiting the field, and the total number of responses, that is the people they interviewed on the field and they observed on the field, were 24, and they visited 2 focal points, and that's why I said at least we had total coverage, putting the observation and field monitoring from both the Census Technical Committee and the advisory boards together. So I'm presenting their own observation on the availability of materials on the field. And the pilot mapping, all the checklists that was presented, protective gear, especially for those who are working in the riverine area, and then pilots, during the pilot mapping, we had a lot of rains. They have the right protective gear to work on the field. These were made available and they were functional. The tablets were also made available. Transportation were provided for the mappers, and they all want their identification so that they can have seamless entry into the localities as well as to the houses of the people they were interviewing. However, there were key technical challenges which were major challenges to the pilot's mapping. Number 1 is the power battery for the devices that were used on the field, and this had the highest complaints and observed on the field. Then there was a terrain where there are so much problem in accessibility, as well as internet connectivity, which posed some major issues in the course of the exercise. And also we had a live dashboard monitoring, which gives us live what was happening on the field during the whole exercise, and it was giving us the percentages of data collection as the exercise was going on. And you can see from here. Just go back. So you can see that we were on the field. While they were working on the field, we were actually observing all the data they were collecting, and from there we could access the coverage, look at the settlements, and be sure that all settlements have been visited, and in areas where we had issues, maybe coverage, we were having meetings based on the dashboard entries with all the mappers every other day, and then we point out to them areas which they have not covered. So that's for Kailamu. So we were observing all this on the field during the entire exercise. This is Bombali, so that we could actually access whether the areas have been completely covered or not. And so 14 sections were expected for the exercise, and the 14 sections were visited. Number of localities expected was 181. You can see from here that during the exercise we had 79. However, we were able to on the spot know that there were a lot of errors that was being committed by the mappers and both by the applications. Because when you move from one locality to the other, you are supposed to change the locality on the application. And then we discovered that some of the mappers were not doing this, which was part of the lessons we learned on the field. So for the actual coverage, total number of localities covered was actually 192, which is more than the expected, because the validation by the paramount rulers also made us to discover some localities while we were working on the field. So actual coverage of localities was 192, and total number of EAs was 141. Even by the time we finished detailed data cleaning, we had total number of EAs for 141 against the 137 we even reported for the provisional release of results. Because what happened during this exercise is that by the time we started data cleaning, we discovered that the GIS and the mappers also made some errors in the threshold in the EA rules by mapping part of a locality, joining it with part of another locality. So all this had to be sorted out during the data cleaning, which we have now done in readiness for the pilot census, which is also going to focus on the same areas. So for the mapping results, right here, I have data collected, and also after we have cleaned. This is Bombali. This was how the data collected was presented, and by the time we finish the data cleaning, this is what we have. Because you can now see that all enumeration areas are now mapped contiguously. Because when mappers go to the field, what they do is to map the areas where we have settlements. And when they are done, they just round off the enumeration area boundary by just putting a boundary around all the building data they've collected. But when data is properly cleaned, contiguity is now achieved so that there is no gap, neither is there any overlap. And from there, we can also see yes, this is for every building. These are the data sets that have been collected for every building, which tells us